Well, the New South Wales government is currently locked in a battle with local Sydney councils over its housing plan, specifically to ensure greater development in a handful of areas close to public transport and infrastructure. It's true that we need more housing in New South Wales, Sydney especially, to ensure that younger generations aren't locked out of their own homes. But the question is where, and is the state government doing enough on the issue? Chris Minns was asked about this a short time ago, and he is currently in a big fight with a lot of local councillors.
It's just hyperventilating from him, not true, not based in reality. I think he said on the radio this morning that the government's playing politics. I mean, if we were playing politics with this issue, we wouldn't touch it, like everybody else, like Frank Carbone, like the previous government. We'd say there's nothing much we can do about housing, we're going to put it on the back burner. We're not doing that.
Well, there you go, name check by the Premier this morning, and joining me now is Frank Carbone. He's the Mayor of Fairfield City. Thanks so much for your time. First of all, would you like to respond directly there to the Premier?
I don't know what he's talking about. We all want more housing and we're trying to actually work to provide more housing. But we can't have a Premier that goes on TV and on radio and talks about wanting to provide housing, and yet they tax every single new home by $12,500. It's not just about providing housing, it's about making sure that it's affordable. And he's taxing housing $12,500. That means every person that wants to buy a new house has to pay those extra taxes. And quite clearly, there's not a housing shortfall. All it is because immigration has been tripled over the past few years, that's actually caused a shortage of housing. So it's about more people coming in. And the fact that the Premier seems to continually be forgetting about a policy and talking about people is quite wrong. He should be looking at his policy and getting the policy right. What he's done, he's actually walked away from good policy and quite simply just dumping housing in the western suburbs. That's what's going to happen, because the most affordable housing that will be available will be in the western suburbs. And the only problem that the Premier's got, and he doesn't want to talk about, is that a place like Fairfield has 48,000 dwellings that are zoned R2 that he's proposing to basically double the houses, double the people living in there. He's going to turn our streets into car parks. He's increasing the floor space ratio from 0.55 to 0.65. He's not telling people the details. This is the problem, right? He's just spinning it. As they always do. When you get these politicians, that's all they've done all their life, they just spin it. And unfortunately, it's going to be people in the western suburbs are going to pay for this through more congestion, more housing, but no transport.
Well, let's a bit to unpack there, Frank. I heard you talking about these extra taxes, the $12,000 extra taxes on each new home on Ben Fordham's program this morning on 2GB. What are you talking about exactly there?
So the state government has put a new tax on every new home, every new unit that's getting built in New South Wales. So when you subdivide land, when you build the unit, you have to pay this new tax.
What's it called?
To the Chris Minns government. Sorry?
What's this tax called? How are they justifying it?
Well, it's supposed to be for an infrastructure tax, but we never had this tax before. And all of a sudden, he's put this new tax on every single dwelling in the state. Now, he's not talking about it. All he says is, we need it for hospitals, we need it for... But it's not like we aren't taxed enough at the moment. Everywhere we look, there's tax, tax, tax. That's all there is. And if you want to make something affordable, if you want housing to be more affordable, don't tax it. The federal government's put in the basics requirements, which actually cost an extra $30,000 per house. Chris Minns has put a state government tax, which is $12,000. He's already raised the price of an ordinary home or unit by $50,000. And this comes on top.
So how do you get to 50,000? Sorry?
Well, the basics will roughly cost you about $30,000. By the time you improve your glazing, by the time you improve the efficiency of the house.
So these are the environmental requirements for a new home.
The environmental requirements that go, well, you have to do them. And this is why you're not getting any new housing in the state, because people can't afford to build new housing. But yet what you are getting is an undersupply of existing homes because migration's been tripled. So we're getting more people.
Okay, and I would just say the Premier doesn't have control over migration. That's a federal government.
That's fine, but he should be fighting to reduce it because that's causing the problems. That's the problems that's being caused. But
also, Frank, don't you agree that we need some of those migrants to help build these homes as well?
Oh, definitely. So we used to get about 200,000 migrants per year prior to the pandemic. All of a sudden now it's 1.5 million. The government's reduced it slightly, but it's still going to be way and above, if not double, to what we currently get. Quite simply, you can't ramp up housing overnight. The federal government's housing affordability fund hasn't built one new home yet, Laura.
No,
and
no.
And they've caused this. Let's be honest. It's the migration that's caused it. I'm not against migration. Of course we need migration, but it needs to be sustainable and needs to be matched with transport and with housing.
Yeah,
what Chris Minns is proposing is very important. Everyone that owns a house in the suburbs, there's going to be 2 houses there, a studio at the back. People got nowhere to park as it is. The garages will be used for storage. We already got more people living in Fairfield than any other area in New South Wales. The average is 3.2 per household.
More people per household. Yeah, got it. But, I mean, you got to see the Premier's problem here as well. He needs desperately to build more homes.
I agree.
And mayors like you agree, but everyone says, oh, but we're too full.
No. Let's get this straight. In Fairfield, we have 10,000 homes that are ready to go. Actually, last year I said to the Minns government, we can provide 24,000 new homes if you build that east-west connection from the airport to Parramatta. What did he do? He scraps the east-west connection. So we're happy to build homes. We're not anti-development.
But you want the infrastructure. Is that right?
Well, how do you double the housing by hundreds of thousands of new homes in the suburbs when there is no new transport corridors? The rail line from the airport to Mount Druitt isn't going to do it, let me tell you. Right?
Yeah,
so
look, I agree. But you got to say, at the beginning of this interview, you said, he just wants to dump them all in Western Sydney. You have to admit that he's not just, he's trying to avoid doing that. That's why he's having a big fight with the North Shore at the moment too.
No, he's not. See, this is all a mirage. He's having a fight with the North Shore while they got conservation laws and heritage laws that will protect the uplift over there. And he's talking about little train stations that will get 100, 200, 500 extra homes. Yeah. But out here in the western suburbs, just in Fairfield alone, he's not talking about the dual occupancy, see? He's telling everyone to look over there and not look over here. The dual occupancy, what that will create is 48,000 new homes just in the Fairfield LGA. Put in place Blacktown, Fairfield, Liverpool, Camden, and all the suburbs out here, Penrith. It's the end of the family home, Laura. Do you understand? So wherever there's a family home now,
yeah, well, he's talking about, during the election, he talked about Sydney being the next Manhattan. It's not a secret.
It's not Manhattan. He's turning into Calcutta because he's not putting the public transport. So we're all for it. Just
quickly, I spoke to the Treasurer, Daniel Mookie, yesterday on this program, and I said to him, is it all about just going up, not out? And I asked him about infrastructure, and he said, basically he was trying to say that building new infrastructure, expensive new roads and rail lines is putting the debt on our grandkids, and that's not what he really wanted to do.
He's collecting a $12,000 cheque from every new home. So where's that money going? And if you're going to get hundreds of thousands of homes west of Parramatta, surely you've got to build that east-west connection to the airport. Look, we've got a lot of train lines in Fairfield. We have actually exceeded what the state government's actually planning. We're not against housing.
Well, why would the train line to the airport actually help? Can you explain that to me?
Oh, because what it does, it connects out of Western Sydney all the way from the airport, places like Liverpool, Blacktown, Penrith, through a fast metro. And what it does, it actually encourages people to live out there and not have to all travel on the same freeway to get from A to B. And what the transport corridor actually allows, like I proposed to Chris Minns, which he rejected, in Cecil Park, we're happy to provide 24,000 new homes in one suburb between the airport and Parramatta. But that's a lot of people, Laura. People need to understand, when you live west of Parramatta, these are the people that pay the tolls, that need to travel the furthest, and that makes it harder, right?
But Frank, what are you saying? Like, you're saying you don't necessarily want to reduce housing blocks in your area. The government's saying it needs to go up in some areas. Are you saying don't go out either? We're running out of options.
We're not running out of options because there is plenty of housing supply. The problem isn't supply. The problem is affordability.
Land, you mean?
Builders can't build it. No, everywhere. Like, we got plenty of availability to build high-rise in Fairfield near the train stations, and we've allowed this. Actually exceeded the government's requirements. Exceeded. And we've got that supply there. But we need to have the right housing in the right place. We want it near the train station. That's where the shops are. That's where people have less cars. That's where people need that. So I'm supporting higher densities near train line. Okay. So let's get that right. I'm not against the housing, but I can't support a broad brush approach that is going to basically change the fabric of what we see now as a family home. Basically now what he's proposing is every single house in New South Wales, where at the moment you've got a 12-metre frontage, that frontage becomes 6 metres. Yep. Where are people going to park their cars? And when you work out the devil's in the detail, it's 0.65 to 1 for the development, which actually means that you're basically building small units on the blocks of land. One garage is going to be used for storage. You won't be able to put a Hills hoist in the backyard. So I'm not against housing, but we need the right planning framework, because what he's doing right now is actually ruining the potential for future housing in these areas by taking a decision in the R2 zones. The dual occupancy everywhere. Well, he's basically allowing, I don't know where you live, Laura, but if you live in a house, they're all going to become terrace homes.
Yeah,
that's basically.
look, I live in Bondi. Apartments are the prospects there.
And that's fine.
But Frank, look, we're well over time. You're loud and clear now. I get it. We'll put it to
Not
the
against
Premier.
housing, right? So we've provided more. We've provided supply. We've provided places.
Clear.
Okay, thank you.
Clear. We gave up on the dream of a Hills hoist a long time ago, but we'll see you soon, Frank.
You won't be able to swing it anymore in the backyard.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.